Welcome to mySci Unit 18, Our Dynamic Earth. In these lesson summary videos, we will go through each lesson and explain the key concepts and the activities you will be doing with your students as you go through this unit. In Lesson 1, students will answer the question, how can we analyze and interpret data from maps to describe patterns? They figure out that maps have different purposes and show how different features on Earth's surface change over time. During the unit, students will focus on the design challenge. How can we design and compare structures to reduce the impact of earthquakes? What that means is that students are going to design and build an earthquake-resistant building, test it using a shake table, and refine their design based on how successfully it performed. The students will determine how the structure and types of materials used in construction can minimize the destruction caused by earthquakes. Start by framing the unit for the students. Tell students, this unit is all about how Earth is a dynamic system that is constantly changing over time because of weathering and erosion and plate motion. These processes have an effect on humans. Introduce them to the design challenge and ask them questions to get them thinking about how they can achieve this design challenge. You will also want to frame the unit for the students by introducing them to the unit phenomena. For Unit 18, students will analyze and interpret a map that depicts the frequency of damaging earthquakes in the United States. They will consider why some locations have a higher risk of earthquakes than others. In the engaged portion of this lesson, students will draw what they think a map of their state looks like in their student journals. They will also be introduced to the role of a cartographer, a scientist who draws or makes maps. In the Explore portion of this lesson, students will analyze a section of a Missouri state map. These map sections can be downloaded from a link in the curriculum sidebar. The white outline should be cut prior to class. Students will use the questions on the Map Questions Student Journal page to explain the components of their map and what each component represents. They will develop a legend that includes symbols and labels for each map component. Next, students will share their map section with the class, assemble the map, and discuss what features they observe on the whole topographic map, including rivers, lakes, cities, and plateaus. In the Explain portion of this lesson, students will read an article about map features, including map keys, scales, and grids. They will participate in a class discussion to explain the importance of maps in their lives. In the Elaborate portion of this lesson, students will analyze various maps from our state to consider what different maps show us. Several map sources have been provided in the curriculum, including a map of Forest Park, a map of the St. Louis Zoo, human impacts in Missouri, and interactive land use, to name a few. Separate students into groups and ask students to answer the following questions. What is the purpose of the map? Why do you need to know the purpose of a map? What features are shown on the map? What patterns, if any, do you observe on the map? And how do you think maps change over time? What factors cause maps to change? Once students have answered these questions, they should compare and contrast the maps they analyzed. In the Evaluate portion of this lesson, students will complete a formative assessment. They will revisit their original drawing of Missouri from the Engage portion. Students will refine their drawing based on what they have learned, explain why they made these changes, and the importance of making these changes. By the end of this lesson, students will have read and interpreted a variety of maps.